Well, hey everybody, my name is Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic. Everybody at all of our locations this morning, do me a favor and help me welcome everybody who's with us today. Yeah, come on. So glad you guys are here. Listen, we think that Sundays are the best day of the week, and my hope is that you leave this place challenged and encouraged, and leave knowing that being here really makes a difference in your life, because for so many of us, it really, really does. In fact, if you happen to have come with a friend today, I want you to know that that says a lot about what they actually think about you, that they would want to share this part of their lives with you. So to everybody who's here, man, thanks for being here. It's going to be a great day. Today is Epic Day, which means a couple of really important things. Here's the first thing. It means that everybody at all of our locations gets the official 2019 Epic Church t-shirt. How about that, yeah? Pretty cool, pretty cool. I hope you love it. I hope you wear it and that you wear it proudly. And I got to tell you this, our secret goal is for you to stick around long enough for us to take over your entire wardrobe. That's the goal. That's what we're going after. So, in fact, for some of you, it's already true. You're like, I don't know how this happened, but all I have are Epic Church t-shirts. So, anyways, you're welcome. That's a thing. All right. So that's the first thing. Second thing you need to know about Epic Day, that's a pretty big deal, is that today we're actually starting this brand new series that we're calling Swag. Now, according to two very reliable sources, Forbes magazine and Michael Scott from The Office, this word swag is actually an acronym for stuff we all get. Look at somebody, tell them, stuff we all get. Yeah, stuff we all get. You know, every year around award show season, you start to hear about these insane swag bags. You know what that is? You heard about the swag bags, right? Now, it's crazy, like, these are the things that are given to the nominees who attend the different award shows. In fact, at the Oscars this past year, each bag that was given away to a nominee included more than $100,000 in gifts. What? The most expensive item in their bag was a $40,000 12-night vacation for two to Tanzania, which included spa services, a private safari guide, and a hot air balloon adventure that also included a champagne breakfast. I read that and I was like, what is that? Champagne breakfast? I didn't even know that that was a thing. Like, here I've been starting my days with oatmeal and Wheaties, but these people, they got champagne breakfast. And the second thing I thought about that was, man, I don't know if the hot air balloon is where you want to be having all that champagne. That just seems like a poor decision. Like, I don't think those two things go together. I don't know much about hot air balloons. I don't even know much about champagne. But those two things together, no, that's a bad combination. I was talking to my son about this, and he was like, oh, I get it. It's kind of like socks and sandals. And I was like, nailed it. Yeah, that's a bad combination too. My son, wise beyond his years, this little guy. I'm telling you, pretty proud of him. Anyways, these swag bags, they're absolutely crazy. In past years, they've actually been way more expensive than even this 2018. In 2016, there were bags that were worth upwards of $250,000 each. Can you believe that? That's insane. Now, you need to know this. In this series, we're not giving away anything like that. Not one thing. No, you got a t-shirt. That's all you get, because that's all we could afford. We spent all the money on one Sunday, so congratulations, you did it. That's awesome. You got that. I hope you enjoy your shirt. But you do need to know this. In this series, we are going to talk about the swag, or the stuff that we all get whenever Jesus is part of a person's life. You see, we believe that everything's better when God's at the center of it. See, we think that your relationships are better when God's at the center. We think that your decisions are better when God's at the center. Your life is better when God's at the center. In fact, we think that you are better when God's at the center of you. In fact, I want you to look at something that Jesus said in John chapter 10, verse 10. It's one of my favorite verses, and so it's one that we look at often around here. So I just want to share that with you. Here's what Jesus said. He says, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. And by thief, what he means is anything or anyone in your life that causes harm or that costs you in some way. Now just think about that for a second. Like anyone or anything in your life that costs you in some way. For some of you, when I say that, you immediately start thinking about your ex, right? Come on, tell the truth. Right? Right? Yeah, it's true. It's true. And you're like, how do you know? You know how I know? Instagram. I've been following. Right? I've been following along. In fact, I got to tell you, just to be honest, I get a kick out of watching your profile picture change, all right? Because here's how it goes. It starts off as you and him in the photo, and then I don't know exactly what happened, but all of a sudden it's just zoomed in to just your face, right? And he's cropped out of the picture, and all you see is like his hand on your shoulder, and I'm like, ooh, something happened. It went down. So I'm just saying, I've been watching along. That's the thing. So anyways, if you think about this, a bad ex, like that's not the only thief that you'd have in your life. In fact, from the age of 16 years old and on, if you think about this, who is it in your life that actually has the most potential to cause you the most harm or to cost you something? Anybody know? Here's a hint. Starts with Y, ends in U. Anybody know? Yeah, it's you. It's you. You're the one who has the greatest potential to cause yourself the most harm. You're the one that has the potential to cost you something. Who do? You do. You do, yeah. You can be your own thief. In fact, people say it like this: I'm my own worst. Nailed it, yeah. I'm my own worst enemy. I mean, when you think about it, if you think about the things that you regret most in life, here's what I guess is probably true. You bought it, you leased it, you ate it, you drank it, you smoked it, you dated it, then you slept with it, and some of you married it, right? And some of you are like, I'm sitting right beside it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I don't know if that's true or not, but could be. Could be. It's like, no, I'm sitting right beside it. You're all still right now. You're like, I don't want them to know, but it's true. You know, I'm just saying, right? Now, what's interesting about that is, gosh, so many times, like we bring this stuff on ourselves. We're a mess. We are a mess. It's true. Every single one of us, we are a mess. So that's the bad news. But here's the good news, because Jesus goes on. He says, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. He says, but unlike the thief, I have come that they, and by they he means everybody, everyone then and everybody now, that they may have life and have it to the full. He says, listen, I've come so that people can have life, and not just any kind of life. Man, I want people to have life to the full. I want people to have a great life, an extraordinary life. I want people to have the best kind of life. He's saying, I'm not like the thief. I didn't come to steal, kill, and destroy. No, I came to give. I came to protect, and I came to build you up. I came so you can have life and have it to the full. You see, I really believe that following Jesus will make your life better, but it will also make you better at life. Following Jesus will make your life better, but it will also make you better at life. And gang, that's something that we want for everybody. In fact, it's part of the reason why our name as a church is Epic Church. We want that for every person in the city. We want everyone to have a relationship with Jesus because we know what a difference that can make in a person's life. Changes everything. Now, part of the challenge with wanting that for everybody, for every person in the city, is that not every person in the city wants that for themselves. And if you're not a follower of Jesus, then I want you to know, listen, there are absolutely some totally legit reasons why you probably would not want to become a Christian or become a follower of Jesus. And I'm totally with you on some of those. In fact, one of the biggest reasons I think why you might not want to become a follower of Jesus is because you know some of them. You know what I'm saying? Anybody know some? You ever know some of them? You're like, if that's what that is, no thank you. Like if that's what they're like, if that's how they treat us, no, then no thank you. And I totally get that. In fact, there's a famous Indian philosopher who said this. Here's what he said. Jesus is ideal and wonderful, but you Christians, you are not like him. I read that and I was like, ooh, right? It's like, that stings because it's kind of true, right? Hey, Christians, followers of Jesus, we don't always act very much like Jesus. So I can see why this could be a pretty big reason or a pretty big hurdle for people to get past when it comes to making a decision to follow Jesus for themselves. Now, that's just one. Another reason why I think some people struggle with the idea of following Jesus is because of the gap that exists between what they were taught as children and then what they experienced as adults. You see, sometimes something just happens as you get older. Like life just has a way of chipping away at what you believe. Like for example, I don't know about you, but as a child, I was taught that God is great and God is good. In fact, no doubts about that. But then as an adult, I don't know about you, but man, I went through some stuff. I've gone through some stuff, and I've had some moments where I'm like, I wonder. Anybody else ever wondered? Am I the only one? You guys won't admit it in church? It's just like, no, I've never wondered. Just that guy up there with the microphone, he don't know what he's doing. He probably shouldn't have the microphone if he's wondering that stuff. I'm just saying, so. You ever wonder? You ever go through something and you're like, man, if God is so great and God is so good, then why didn't he do something about this? And if God is so great, you ever watch the news and wonder, man, if God is so great and God is so good, then why didn't he do something about that? Now, all of a sudden, it's as if the faith that you had as a child just can't hold up under the rigors of adulthood. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get how that could be a major obstacle for some people, for a lot of us, when it comes to making a decision to follow Jesus. But if you were to pin me down, if you were to say, hey, man, like, if you could whittle it down to just, like, one thing, like, what do you think is the biggest reason why most people wouldn't make that decision or kind of move in that direction or hesitate or pump the brakes a little bit? I think a good chunk of the time, one of those reasons is this. It's because a lot of us struggle with the idea of following Jesus because we get so caught up in the fact that we think that following Jesus is all about keeping all the rules. You know what I'm talking about? Like, make sure you do this and do that and don't do this and really don't do that, because if you do that, oof, it is not good for you. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep all the rules, and if you're good enough at keeping all the rules, then you could stay in the game, but if you're not, then you're out. Now, that kind of reminds me of a game I played when I was a kid, one of my favorite games. Anybody love playing Simon Says? Come on, wasn't that a great game whenever you were little? Loved playing Simon Says. It was an awesome game. In fact, I was thinking about it, I was like, gosh, it might be fun at all of our locations right now in this moment to play one big, huge game of Simon Says. Are you in for it? You ready? Yeah, let's do this. All right, here we go. So let me tell you the rules in case you don't know the rules. All right, here's how it goes. So 2 rules. Number 1, if I say Simon Says to do something, then you have to do it. And if you don't, then you are out, right? That's how that works, all right? And listen, I promise I'm not going to make you do anything embarrassing, all right? So this is a safe place. It's going to be good, right? I'm not going to be like, yo, let's receive the offering. Everybody give everything you got. You know, we're not. Simon Says, you know, I'm not going to do that, all right? All right, so that's the first rule. Here's the second rule about Simon Says, okay? If I tell you to do something and you do it, but I don't say Simon Says, and you do it anyways, what's that mean? You are out. That's how it works. Lots of ways to be out, so you need to pay attention, all right? So we're going to play this game, and if you're confused about how to play Simon Says, you're just going to get out fast. So here we go, okay. Here's the game. All of our locations, make sure you play along, all right? And I can see you guys, Center City, Roxborough, Fairmount. I see you, so play along. Here we go. All right, Simon Says, start clapping your hands really fast. Good job. All right, everybody stop. Ooh, Simon didn't say. Simon, listen, if you were like this and you were like, no, you can't catch up. All right, you are out. So if you hesitated, you're out. All right, everybody keep going. Clapping your hands. Simon Says, clap your hands. All right, Simon Says, stop clapping. Wow. I feel really powerful right now. This is awesome, right? Simon Says, raise your right hand. Simon Says, raise your left hand. Look at you guys worshiping Jesus in church. It's okay, just feel it. Have a moment, soak it in. All right, put your hands down. Simon didn't say. Simon, and if you're out. You're out. That's how that works. All right, you getting tired? Now, real quick question for you. Everybody's got your hands up. Look around. Don't you feel a little better than those other people who don't have their hands up? You know what I'm saying? Don't you? You're like, Simon didn't say. All right, Simon Says, put your hands down. All right, you guys are way too smart for me, and it would take all day to whittle down to an actual winner, so we need to do the super bonus lightning round, all right? So here's what we're going to do. Across all of our locations, all right, this one moment, this is for all the marbles, okay? So at all of our locations, the very first person to stand up on the count of 3 wins. 1, 2, 3, go! Simon did not say. Simon did not say. Oh! You're out! You said you weren't going to make us do anything embarrassing. Simon didn't say that either. Sucker. It's okay to have fun in church. Did you know that? Hey, listen, I wanted to play that game, Simon Says, because I think for many of us, our view and understanding of Christianity is that it's just one big game of Jesus says. Like Jesus says go to church, so you go to church. Jesus says to pray, so you pray. Jesus says don't do that, so you don't do that until you do, and then what? You're out, right? Like Jesus didn't say do that. You did it, so now you're out. And you're like, oh, but, no, there's no but. You're out. What are you talking about? You're out. It's like, oh, I'm out again for the 15th time this morning. You know what I'm saying? Anybody out as much as I'm out? I'm out all the time. I mean, if you're anything like me, you've had moments where you've been out so much, you're fed up with being out. You're like, well, fine. I never even wanted to be in. This is a dumb game. Right? If it's that easy to be out all the time, then forget it. I don't even want to be in. You know what I'm saying? Like if that's not your challenge, maybe for you, you've just actually over time, you've had moments where you've actually gotten really good at playing Jesus Says. And so you go to church because Jesus says, and you read the Bible because Jesus says, and you sing the songs because Jesus says, you do this, you do that, all because Jesus says. But you know what I think I've learned is the temptation when you find yourself focused on being really good at everything Jesus says. I think the temptation is that you can start to look around at all the people around you and think that you're better than them because you're still in the game and they're not. You know what I'm saying? Remember how you felt a second ago when you had your hands in the air and they didn't, and you were like, Remember how good you felt about yourself? Like you made it all of 2 rounds in Simon Says. You're just like, I don't know about them. Simon did not say. That's the temptation. We can start to believe our own hype, believe our own press. And that's a dangerous, dangerous, dangerous thing. In fact, I think that's part of what makes people who aren't followers of Jesus not want to be followers of Jesus, because they're like, oh, if that's what they're like, no thank you, right? And so we decide, I'm gonna play the game, I'm gonna play it really well, and start to think you're better than everybody else. Or you decide, you know what, I'm not very good at playing this game, so I'm just gonna fake it. Like I'm gonna fake the Jesus Says thing on Sundays, and then the rest of the week it just is what it is. See, I think here's the thing about this. I think regardless of whether or not you're any good at playing the game, I think that this kind of approach to your faith can lead you to a place where you just decide, you know what? I'm just going to be out. Like, I don't even want to be in. I'm just going to be out. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend anymore, or I can't try and keep all these lists of do's and don'ts anymore. It's too much. So I'm just going to be out. And man, if you find yourself in any kind of place like that, then listen, I wish I could get you to forget everything you think you know about what it means to follow Jesus. Because here's one thing I do know. Jesus never invited anyone into a game of Jesus Says. Never. Jesus invited people into a relationship with him. Jesus never invited anyone into a game of Jesus Says. Jesus invited people into a relationship with him. You see, it isn't and it has never been about being good enough or doing enough good things in order for you to be able to stay in the game. That's not what this is about. Now, I want to show you this from Scripture this morning. Over in Isaiah chapter 64, Isaiah actually talks about how useless it is to try and be good enough or do enough good things to get God on your side. And he talks about this in chapter 64, verse number 4. And so let me read this to you. It says, "For since the world began, no ear has heard and no eye has seen a God like you, who works for those who wait for him." He says, listen, God, there's nobody like you. Like, let's just go ahead and put that out there. There's nothing and nobody as great and as good as you are. Verse 5. He says, "You welcome those who gladly do good, who follow godly ways, but you've been very angry with us, for we are not godly." Now, I love his honesty here, because he's like, listen, we a mess. Like, if I just shoot straight, I am a mess. We're a bunch of people who stumble all the time and who blow it all the time and who mess up all the time. We do things that we said we wouldn't do over and over and over again. And gang, whenever I hear Isaiah say stuff like that, I totally identify. You know why? Because that's my story. I've lived that one. I've got that one down. Right? Came natural. I can do that one, right? That's my story, and my guess would be that's probably a lot like your story too. Because honestly, I think none of us are as pure and holy and righteous and good as we hope to be. Maybe even as we pretend to be sometimes. Now Isaiah goes on, and I want you to look at what he says next. This is so funny. He says, we are not godly. He says, we are constant sinners. That made me chuckle because I'm like, you ever tell on yourself too much? You know what I'm saying? Like, you ever tell on yourself just a little too much? Like, you didn't have to say all that. He's like, listen, if there's been some sinning, I did it. I'm just saying, I did it, right? And if I didn't do it, I was thinking about doing it. I was definitely thinking about it. All right? And if you give me a little bit more time, that thing I was thinking about, I probably would have done it. So I'm just saying, all the sinning, I've done all the sinning. I've done that, right? He just fesses up to it. It's just funny because I was thinking about this, and it reminded me of one of my children who shall remain nameless, all right? And we had this moment where I didn't believe that they were telling me the whole truth. Actually, I didn't believe they were telling me the truth at all. And so I put on like my detective, and I started to interrogate a little bit, like in a nice way, but I asked some probing questions, and I'm getting closer and closer to the truth. And finally, this child looks back at me, and here's what they said: just ground me. Like out of nowhere, just dropped their defenses. They're like, just ground me. I did it. And then went on to confess to something else I wasn't even asking about. They were like, and I did this other thing that I said I didn't do. So I'm just saying. Sorry. There's two he's. One is 9 and one is 15 months. It's for you to decide which one I was having this very in-depth conversation with. And so anyways, they said, listen, I'm a mess. Like I did it and totally confessed. This is that moment for Isaiah. He's like, look, I'm a mess. And then he asks a really interesting question. I think it's a question that we all ask sometimes when we finally get honest. He says, how can people like us be saved? Or how can the stuff that's broken about me, and how can the stuff that's not right about me, and how can all the ways that I don't measure up, because the truth is none of us do. Is there any way that can be fixed? Is there any possible way that could be better? Isn't that the question that we all ask when we finally realize just how broken we are? Now, truthfully, it takes some of us different amounts of times to get to the place where we realize that we don't have it all together. For some people, it takes a broken marriage, or 2, or 3. For others, it takes the challenge of an addiction. For some, it takes finally getting caught. For others, it takes some other set of circumstances, but the truth is, it takes us different amounts of time to get to the place where when we're looking in the mirror, we're willing to admit that we might be looking at part of the problem, that we're just a little broken. Now, I don't know if you know this, but that's actually a really good day. Because the day that you can admit that there's a problem is the day that God can step in and do what only He can do and start to fix it. That's the day that God can go to work in our lives and do the stuff that only He can do. And so Isaiah says here, he has this moment where he goes, Houston, there is indeed a problem. What are we going to do about it? Verse 6, he says, we are all infected and impure with sin. He says, I looked at that word all. It says, we are all infected. I looked it up. Turns out in the Hebrew, that word all, you know what it means? All. All. It means everybody, right? All. It means everybody. He says, we are all infected and impure with sin. He says, when we display and this is the part I wanted you to see, when we display our righteous deeds, in other words, the good things that we do, they are nothing but filthy rags. He says, hey, whenever we work real hard to try and be good enough, to do enough good things to stay in the game, God, I'm starting to realize that even on my best day, it's nothing but filthy rags. Now, if you understand what he means by filthy rags here, you really begin or start to get an idea of how much value God places on our being good enough at playing, Jesus says. Now, some scholars say that what he's talking about here, these rags, talking about the rags that they would use to wrap up someone's wounds who had leprosy. Now, leprosy was this disease where people had open wounds that would ooze with pus and blood, so it was gross, right? And these rags would be wrapped around these wounds, and eventually it would have to be changed. And what he's saying here is, he's saying, listen, our good deeds, like the good things that we do, they're like those rags whenever they need to be changed. Absolutely useless. They do nothing for you. He says, even on your best day, when you play the perfect game of Jesus Says, it's nothing but filthy rags. It's absolutely useless because it never was, and it never will be about how good you can play the game. Now, I don't know about you, but I hear something like that, and I'm like, well, if it's not about how good you can play the game, then what is it about? Like, what is this whole thing about? John 3:16. This is like the Pacific Ocean of our faith. It's so deep that the greatest theologian could never fully explore its depths, yet it's so shallow that the youngest and most naive among us could splash around in its goodness. I love this verse. In John 3:16, John tells us this. He says, for God so loved the world. That's everybody. God so loved everybody that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him, key phrase, will not perish, but have eternal life. He says this, he says, God knew that we had a problem, and he so loved all of us enough that he didn't just leave us with our problem, but he did something to solve it. He gave his one and only Son, that whoever, key phrase, believes in him will have eternal life. No, what he's saying by believes in him is not believes that Jesus existed, right? That's not what he's saying. He said, if you believe Jesus existed, then you're good. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying here by believes in him, he's saying, hey, you finally got to the place where you realize that, yes, there's a problem. And you finally got to the place where you realize that no matter how hard or how well you play the game, that in and of yourself, you can't do anything to fix that problem. And so you've decided to stop trusting in yourself and in your own ability to be good enough or to do enough good things to fix the problem on your own because you can't. To finally just place your trust in Jesus and what he did to fix the problem for you. See, that's what it means to believe in him. That's it. Yep. Nothing else? Nope. Come on. Like, there's got to be something else. There's got to be more to it than that. Like, what's the catch? There is no catch. Wait. So you're saying, place my trust in what he did for me. Place my trust in him for what he did for me. That's how I can have eternal life, be with God forever. That's how that works out. Yes. Okay, wait. Believe in him and go to church most Sundays, right? No. Believe in him and, all right, give some money, right? You got to give money. That's the thing, right? No. All right. Believe in him and vote a certain way, right? Definitely no. Oh, it's just believe in him. No. What do you mean? What's the catch? There is no catch. Look at me. That is what's so incredible about Jesus. And that is what is so incredibly amazing about grace. That when we least deserved it, and when we least expected it, God did not leave us in our mess, but he chose to actually do something about it, and he met our greatest need, and he solved our biggest problem. You see, it's not about what you can do to work your way toward God, because you can't. It's about what God has done through Jesus to make himself available to you. The Apostle Paul put it this way in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8. He says this, God saved you by his grace when you believed. And you can't take credit for this. It's like, it's not about what you did. It is a gift from God. Salvation is not a reward for the good things that we've done. So none of us can boast about it. Paul says, hey, this is a gift that comes straight from God. We can't earn it, but it comes to us the moment that we believe in him and finally place our trust in Jesus and what he's done for us. You see, this is the thing that separates Christianity from every other religion. This is the thing that separates Christianity from every other belief system in the world. In every other case, it's about working your way toward God. In every other case, it's about doing enough good that hopefully, maybe, possibly, you can tip the scales in your favor. And maybe God will be okay with you. No, Jesus said, and then John repeated, and Paul repeated, it's not about being good enough. And it's not about doing enough good. It's not about being good enough at playing the game Jesus says. It's about placing your trust in what Jesus has done for every single one of us, what we could not do for ourselves. Yeah. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 17 says this. I love this verse. It says, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone. The new life, it has begun. You know what this is? This is that life to the full that we read about in John chapter 10. This is that life that's not like an ordinary life. This is a life that's better than what we've settled for in the past. And it comes to us whenever we take the step to trust Jesus and what he's done for us. So you're a new person when you follow him. You begin to change as you follow him. And as you continue to follow him, God will shape you and mold you and make you into the person that he always dreamed for you to become. See, I don't know if you know this, but this is the most powerful message in all the world. See, this is a message that when a person gets it, when it comes alive in them for the very first time, when they have that aha moment and they're like, wait, hold on. Oh, so this is what that's all about? Oh, so this is what God's like? This is how God sees me? This is what Jesus did for me? This is why that's so important? Gang, this is the moment where when a person just gets it, and many of us in this room can attest, it changes everything. You see, this is a message that when it begins to get down on the inside of you, it begins to change you from the inside out. And from that moment on, everything in your future looks completely different. You start to see the world differently. You see your relationships differently. You start to see even things like life and death differently. And all of a sudden, what seemed to be so important before just isn't anymore. Life takes on new meaning, new purpose. You find new hope, new motivation for tomorrow. And many of us, for the first time, found real meaning and purpose for our lives. And all of a sudden, what we did with our one and only life was important. Listen, when a person gets this, instantly there's like this moment when everything changes. And suddenly people who are far from God discover they don't have to be. And people who are hopeless find hope again. And people who are successful find that there's so much more to this life than just being successful, right? Gang, I'm telling you, this is the message that's at the heart of Christianity. If no one's ever told you, this is what it's all about. It's not about what you can do. It's about what Jesus has already done for you. What's amazing is that this is for everyone, for every single one of us. And what's even better than that is that this is the thing that changes everything. Kind of like this.
Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have, and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, oh, and you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. And you say I am strong when I think I am weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. And I believe, oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe, yes, I believe. Oh, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Oh, I believe.
You talk about swag, stuff we all get. You know, the moment that you finally step across the line of faith and decide to follow Jesus, you know what I think is so great? One of the things we all get is that we get the confidence of knowing we don't have to do this life alone anymore. I don't know about you, but life is hard. Come on. Life can just be hard. But God says, no. I'm with you. We got this. Come on, we'll do it together, right? The other thing I think is really neat is the moment you make a decision to follow Jesus, you have the confidence of knowing that your future is secure because you've become a son or a daughter of God. Now, this is amazing. It's amazing for me personally because I know my own story. I know my own life. And there was a time when I didn't deserve it, and there was a time when I sure couldn't have earned it. But God so loved me, and I believed. And in that moment, I became a son. That's awesome. You know, so much about God comes alive whenever you become a parent yourself. I mean, so I've got 3 kids, Kaylee, Cohen, and Gabe. And one thing cool about that is that the moment that they came into being, they were mine. And they were my kids. Nothing's ever gonna change that. And the moment that they came into being, I was theirs. I was their father. And nothing is ever gonna change that. There's nothing any of my kids could do that will ever change the fact that they're my children. Nothing. Like, no matter how badly they misbehave, they'll never stop being my kids. You know what they'll be? They'll be my misbehaving kids, but they'll still be my kids. That's never gonna change. My daughter, Kaylee, she might grow up. The worst thing I could think, she might marry a Cowboys fan. She might do that. And if she does that, you know what she'll be? She'll be my poor decision-making daughter. That's what she'll be. But she'll still be my daughter. Nothing will change that. My sons, Cohen and Gabe, no matter what they do, they'll never, ever, ever stop being my sons. Never. Listen, the moment you step across the line of faith and make a decision to follow Jesus, you become his, and he becomes yours. You know what's amazing about God? God never kicks his kids out of his family. He just doesn't do that. You'll always be a son. You'll always be a daughter. He'll always be with you. He'll always be for you. He will never leave you. He'll never forsake you. And you can have the confidence of doing life knowing that that's true. Because in that moment, he became yours and you became his. Now listen, for some of you, that's new news. You're like, what? You can know God like that? Are you kidding me? You can. You can. And here's what I want you to know. We want to be part of helping you do that. We want to help you take those steps. Your life will never be the same again. Guaranteed. We want to be part of helping you do that. We'll talk about that in a second. But there are others of you, this is not new news. You're like, I knew the answer to this quiz before I walked in today. Like, this is not new news, but the truth be told, if you were to be honest, you'd say, you know what? But I've kind of drifted away from relationship, and I've drifted into Jesus says. Just trying to keep up with Jesus says. And listen, God wants you to move back toward relationship, away from just doing Jesus says. He wants you to move back toward being a son, move back toward being a daughter. And this is a place where you can do that. And we want to help you do that. So here's what I want to do. I want to pray for both of those groups of people. And you need to know this. We've all been there. Every single one of us. We've all been there, right? And the best time to take a step toward God in his direction was yesterday. Second best time, right now. Right now. So can I pray for you? Is that okay? You don't have a choice. I'm going to do it anyways. All of our locations, come on, let me pray for you. God, I thank you for every person that's here. And Lord, I thank you that you meet us right where we are, but that you also love us enough not to leave us there. And God, I'm so grateful that we don't have to do enough good or try to be good enough to earn your love. But God, before we ever did a thing, even though we didn't deserve it and couldn't have earned it, God, you so loved us. And God, I pray you'd help us to grow in our knowledge of what that is and what that means, and help us together to keep moving closer and closer to you. Thank you that we get to be sons, that we get to be daughters, and that there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that could ever change that. We love you, and we thank you that you first loved us. In Jesus' name, amen. Happy Epic Day, everybody. God bless you guys.